Hi everybody, join with me as we journey through Lent toward the mystery of Easter. In the beginning, the baby was born. God chose Mary to be the mother of God. Listen carefully to the words. God chose Mary to be the mother of God. And the Word was born, a wordless child. When the baby looked up into the face of Mother Mary, he already saw the cross. And when the baby looked up into the face of Father Joseph, the cross was there too. Mother Mary and Father Joseph held the baby close. They kept the baby warm, and they gave the baby everything the baby needed to grow. And the baby began to grow. The baby grew and became a boy. When the boy was about 12 years old, he went with Mother Mary and Father Joseph and many other people from their village of Nazareth to the great city of Jerusalem to keep a high holy day. When the celebration was over, they went back out under the great high gate and they started on the road towards home. Suddenly, Mother Mary and Father Joseph discovered that Jesus wasn't with them. They thought that he had been playing with the other children from the village as they walked along. They hurried back to the great city of Jerusalem to look for him. They looked everywhere for Jesus. They looked in the dark and narrow streets. They looked in the marketplace where they bought their food. They looked where they spent the night. They looked everywhere. Finally, they even looked in the temple. And there he was. He was talking to the rabbis and the priests. And when he talked, they listened because he knew so much. And when they talked, he listened because he wanted to learn more. Finally, Mary and Joseph asked Jesus the question that all parents ask their children, the question that can never be answered. Why did you do this? Then Jesus said something very strange. Didn't you know that I would be in my Father's house? Mary and Joseph did not understand. Their house was in Nazareth, where Joseph's carpenter's shop was. They did not understand, but they would not forget. Jesus grew and became a man. When Jesus was about 30 years old, he went to the river Jordan where his cousin John was baptizing people. Can you see John? You can only see the back of his head. He was a wild man. Jesus waded out into the river until he became face to face with John. He said, "Baptize me." John looked at Jesus as if for the very first time. It was as if he could now see who Jesus truly was. "You are the Messiah, the one we've all been waiting for. You must baptize me." Jesus said, "No. It is written that you will come before me and prepare the way. Baptize me." Jesus went down into the darkness and the chaos of the waters. And when John lifted him back up into the light, there were people there that day that said they saw a dove come down from heaven and come close to him. There were other people there that day that said they heard a voice. The voice said, "This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased." After Jesus was baptized, he went back across the Jordan and into the desert. He stayed there for 40 days and 40 nights to discover more about who he was and what his work was going to be. Jesus went into the desert to discover more about who he was and what his work was going to be. He stayed there for 40 days and 40 nights. There was little to eat and little to drink. One day, Jesus heard a voice. It said, "Why don't you turn one of those stones over there into bread and have something to eat?" Jesus said no. To be a real human being, we need more than just bread to eat. And then suddenly, it was as if Jesus were standing on the highest temple in Jerusalem, and the voice came again. It said, "If you are truly the Son of God, why don't you jump and see if God will send his angels to catch you before you hit the stones below?" Jesus said, "No, we do not need to test God." Then it was as if Jesus could see all the kingdoms of the world. The voice came again, and it said, "If you follow me, I will make you king over all these kingdoms." Jesus said, "No, I am to be a king, but not that kind of king." Then the voice left him. Jesus went back out across the desert, and he began to do his work. But what was his work? Jesus went back across the Jordan and began to do his work. But what was his work? Jesus' work was to come close to people, especially to people that nobody else wanted to come close to. Do you see the blind man? Jesus has come so close to the blind man that he has touched the blind man's eyes. When Jesus comes close to people, they are changed. They can see things they couldn't see before, and they can do things that they couldn't do before. They are made well. Jesus also told parables. Finally, Jesus knew that he was to become a parable too. So he headed towards Jerusalem for the very last time. Jesus headed to Jerusalem for the very last time. It was the time of Passover, so the city was full of people from many different lands. They thought Jesus was coming to be king, but they weren't paying attention. Jesus was not riding on a great white horse when he came into the city. He wasn't being carried by Roman soldiers. He was riding on a donkey. But the donkey wasn't even his. He had borrowed the donkey. Still, when he came riding into Jerusalem that day, people were waving palm branches, and this was a sign of kings. On Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, Jesus went to the temple to teach. Each night he would go back to the Mount of Olives with the 12. People watched and they whispered that this was the place where angels were supposed to come down and build an army to drive away the Roman soldiers. One day when Jesus was teaching in the temple, he said, "Do you see that old woman over there? Watch carefully. Do you hear anything? She is going to put money into the money jar. It's all the money that she had. Now watch. Here comes a rich man. He has so much money that he has to have help to carry it all. His money makes a loud ringing and clanging sound as they pour it into the money jar. Now I wonder who gave the most, the rich man or the old woman? Some say it was the rich man, while others say it was the old woman." The temple guards said, "On Thursday we will take him." But on Thursday they could not find him. That night Jesus and the 12 were hurrying through the dark streets to a house. They climbed the stairs to an upper room, and they shared their Last Supper together. When everyone had had all they wanted to eat, Jesus took the bread, and he gave thanks to God for the bread. And he said, "Whenever you break bread together like this and share it, I will be there." Jesus also took a cup of wine, and he gave thanks to God for the wine. And he said, "Whenever you share a cup of wine like this, I will be there." What was he saying? What was Jesus talking about? He was always saying things like this. How could they know? Still, they did not forget, and soon they would understand. Suddenly, Judas got up and left. The rest sang a hymn, and they went to the Garden of Gethsemane on the Mount of Olives, because Jesus wanted to pray. When Jesus was finished, he joined the 12. But Judas came out of the darkness and greeted him. This was a sign for the temple guards to come and take him. They too came out of the shadows, and they took Jesus away into the night. The 12 disappeared into the darkness as well.